Do you see yourself as one who would say, lead me, follow me, or get out of my way? Have you ever been told you're a little too blunt or maybe too aggressive? Do you enjoy a good verbal debate just to see what others are made of? Are you one who will fight to the death defending people that you care about? You, my friend, you might be an 8 on the Enneagram. If you've missed any of these episodes, you have to go back and get caught up. We've been looking at utilizing the Enneagram to understand ourselves and others and how we can work together and be healthier in our cultures. This is crucial when it comes to leadership in the local church, but also in your life, in your family, wherever you're with people. Today, we want to share with you what makes 8s tick, their strengths, their weaknesses, and the things that we can work on to be better versions of ourselves in the life that we live and in the local church.
Before we get into today's episode, will you do us a favor? There are so many pastors and church leaders, volunteers in small towns that truly want to see healthy growth in their churches, and they really just want to reach as many people for Jesus as possible. And you can help them to do that by simply rating and reviewing this podcast or wherever you consume this content. It'll help us get the word out so many more people like you can find us. And you can also share this episode with your friends on social. We'd love for you to do that. That is a big help. So we just want to say thanks so much in advance. Now let's dig into today's episode. Welcome to the Small Town Big Church Leadership Podcast, a place for pastors, church leaders, and volunteers to grow themselves and the local church. We're pastors Brad and Misty Hilton, church planters in rural America.
Okay, so let's talk about type 8. Let's just do a little bit of an overview. 8s are known as the challenger.
Yes, they are.
Trusting others doesn't come natural to 8s. Justice is a really big deal to them. It's worth fighting for. Mm-hmm. And speaking of fighting, 8s are fighters. Anger is their dominant emotion. And they expect that other people would be authentic. Mm-hmm. They can sniff out a fake like in a millisecond. And they don't mind calling you out on it either. Super nice people generally annoy them because they're perceived as being fake, right? Nobody can be that nice all the time. And if they aren't annoyed, at minimum, they're very suspicious of people who are just super happy all the time, smiling, happy-go-lucky.
For sure. You know, 8s they'll respect you if you challenge them back.
Right, that's right.
Okay, that they want the truth without sugarcoating it. You know, they love to be in control. And when it comes to decision making, they really make quick from the gut decisions, right? 8s have no problem standing up to bullies as well. You know, in fact, it probably brings them joy, I would say.
No doubt.
To an 8, you know, if you're sensitive and you wear your feelings on your sleeve, you're weak. And they lose respect for weak people really fast. Yeah. Under the tough exterior, though, get this straight, they are really very, very generous, loving, and incredibly loyal people with huge hearts.
So we know a little bit about 8s personally.
We do.
Because
we've had a lot of 8s in our lives, it seems.
So our oldest son is definitely a challenger.
Yes.
He's an 8.
Austin Jackson.
Yes. And one of our daughters, she definitely has at least a wing of an 8.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is that we didn't know about the Enneagram when our kids were young.
Right.
And
I wish we did.
Yes,
I wish we had.
Although I had read a lot of books on like the strong-willed child, like Dr. James Dobson had a book on raising boys and the strong-willed child and all of these things that were very helpful. But I did not understand the 8's personality and why, like from a child, from a very young age.
Yeah, in AJ especially, you
challenging.
could see it in a strong way, even as early as pre-K.
Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of funny now looking back because
it was cute then.
It was probably, well, yeah, it was probably more when they were like maybe 9 or 10 that we got into the Enneagram. Mm-hmm. And at that point, everything made sense.
Like this big light bulb came on, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yes, and
this is
how
crazy.
we parented those challengers was very different. And
Very
here's
different.
here's what I want to explain. So, Brad, you are a 9. You're a peacemaker. You are way more of a quiet spirit. I'm a 3. 3s are very strong personalities. We've talked about that. And so I naturally didn't have a problem going head to head with him. And it was like he almost respected me more
Because you had a very strong
because
approach
I had a strong
the
approach with him.
relationship.
And when he was younger, you kind of butted heads because you just thought he was the most disrespectful kid on the
disrespect and,
planet.
man,
And it's really, as we started understanding personalities, he literally, God created him with this challenging personality to stand up for what's right. Like, he had such a huge heart, still does, right?
Oh, yeah, huge.
But he was that kid that if you told him
You were going to do something.
exactly,
And you didn't.
he had no respect for
went
you.
on the list.
Exactly.
No respect.
Like, if you say you're going to do it, you better
You
do
do
it
it.
in the life of an 8,
Yeah.
right? Also, they are very, very big into if you do them wrong one time, it's like for an unhealthy 8,
We're
especially,
We're done.
you're done.
Yeah.
Like, wiped off the list. Don't ever talk to me again. And that we'll talk about healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah.
That is a very unhealthy side of an 8. But as we were raising an 8, that's what we saw. And it was like, son, you got to forgive and you got to move on. And it's like they have a real difficult time with that. Also, we've had employees that were 8s. And being an 8 employee,
Can be a great thing.
it can be because they can be very strong leaders. They can fight for what's right, but they also
if they're-
have that challenging personality.
Yeah, if they're not healthy, it can be really toxic
Right, because
for the team.
they like to question authority.
Challenge.
They like to challenge others' ideas and authority. And sometimes there's a place for that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And other times it's not.
There's not.
Right?
Yeah.
And so learning and understanding the 8's personality, if you're not an 8, will really help you in having relationship with them. Because what they respect is someone else who is strong. So you learned, Brad, even though that wasn't your normal personality, to be a little bit stronger, but not in a domineering, like, I'm your dad, you'll do what I say, or you won't be here kind of thing.
And hey, here, let me give you a reason as to why you can respect me.
Right, absolutely. And that is another thing that with 8s, they don't want to be told what to do.
Right.
So you have to be very wise. And you may think to yourself, well, as a parent, that's my job. Well,
Right.
it is, but you don't have to be demanding about it.
Yeah.
Like, you can ask, even to say to your children, hey, I want you to go clean your room,
Right.
or, being polite about
Right.
something versus
Or if you want them to clean their
demanding it.
room, tell them not to clean their room.
Exactly.
And
And
they
that really is, as our son got older, it became a running joke
It's so true.
that, like, if you want him to do something, tell him the opposite.
Yeah.
And don't make a big deal about things that, especially in the world of parenting.
Yeah.
But they like to challenge you. So it's like coming home and being like, I'm going to get,
I'm going to get a tattoo. And I'm like, I'm getting one with you. Let's get matching tattoos. And he's like, that's no fun.
right. And then he like rolls his eyes.
Whatever. And then walks off.
And
right?
so you begin to understand.
Learn how to defuse these power moves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, the 8s I absolutely love, because at the end of the day, if you are to study out 8s throughout history, you're going to find some incredible leaders.
I promise you, Donald Trump is an 8. Hands down.
Absolutely.
An 8.
And the fact is, they can sometimes rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because if you are one of the personalities that can't handle conflict and challenge,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for you. But if you can understand them, you will realize they have the biggest hearts.
Huge hearts.
And they will fight for what's
For
right.
what's right. Yeah,
Okay?
for
They
sure.
are all about justice.
Yeah.
So let's kind of take a moment to look at the healthy versus the unhealthy 8. Because some of you right now, if you know the Enneagram, you may think to yourself, like, I can't stand 8s, because I've heard people say that. But
Probably
you've probably
because
been with some unhealthy
You
8s.
have an unhealthy 8 in your life, and
Exactly.
probably because you don't have enough awareness of your own number
Right.
to know how to
Have relationship.
have a healthy interaction
Yes.
with an 8. So
Yep.
it's on both sides. Don't just blame the 8s for being 8s.
Right.
You got to look at your own number and realize, how can we make this work?
Yep.
Because it does take work. Okay, so let's look at this. So we're talking about healthy versus unhealthy when it comes to 8s. When they're healthy, they make great friends.
Yes.
I mean, just the best friends ever. They're all about standing up for others. They can't, that especially people who can't stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, when their energy is channeled though in the right direction, they offer more passion and power than you could ever possibly imagine. They're all about their tribe. They're all about their people.
right.
They are defenders of their family.
Mm-hmm.
They fight for what's right. You know, you won't find a bigger heart than in a healthy 8.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They can be incredibly sacrificial and some of the most generous people you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what an average 8 is, okay? So this is kind of in the middle where a lot of them are. An average 8 is like a steamroller. They can be very outspoken.
Yeah.
They love challenging others, and sometimes they do it just for kicks, and that was our son.
Yeah, just for giggles.
Average 8s prefer to have their opinion heard and struggle a lot of times to submit to leadership. They have very little patience.
Yeah.
They struggle to work with other people who are indecisive or don't work hard or don't work as hard as they do. The average 8 tends to be pretty critical, and not just in their mind, like the 1. They're critical and they're verbal about it.
Yeah. When they're unhealthy, though, they live with their guard up and they assume that they're going to be betrayed or done wrong. They love payback. Revenge energizes them. We're talking about unhealthy 8s.
Right.
But when they let people have it, they really let them have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Unhealthy 8s are not rule followers at all. They make up their own rules. And even if it means making unethical decisions, I've seen it a lot. Destruction tends to follow them wherever they go. People are typically seen as objects to be used. So stay out of their way. You know, that's really the lesson here with an unhealthy 8. You know, you're dealing with a real steamroller.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about 8s in the workplace. 8s, as I said earlier, they can make exceptional leaders.
Yes.
If they're healthy and mature.
Mature.
Okay. They can also make great team members when they serve on a team with like a sharp, competent, and strong leader themselves. When they know the vision and they're trained well, they can really be an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. However, if they are operating on the unhealthy side of their number, they can be an absolute nightmare. And honestly, pretty toxic for a team.
Yeah.
So the key is to have an 8 on your team that is fully developed and full of the Spirit of God.
Okay, so if you are an 8 or you have an 8 that's close to you in your life, let's talk about some challenge, ways to challenge you or some growth tips, okay? One thing we'd say is make yourself accountable to your spouse, your friend, coworkers, to let you know when you're being a little too intense, and let's lean into moderation. Moderation is your friend.
Also, work hard to trust others. Try being vulnerable and really sharing your heart. It's a big heart, and it's worth sharing with others.
Yeah. I would say to work on not being so impulsive with your decisions. Impulsivity can bring destruction that doesn't just affect you. Think about this, but also affects others around you when you make these big impulsive decisions. Remember, it's ready, aim, fire, not fire, ready, aim.
And I would say with that is lean into other people. Like the 5 is all about information. So if you have a 5 in your life, go ask them. I mean, the Bible talks about seeking out godly counsel. And so if you know you're an 8, you know you're impulsive, then seek counsel before making especially really big decisions that affect the rest of your life or your family.
Yeah, be quick to think and pray and slow to make decisions.
Yes.
And especially don't let it come out your mouth. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Think before you speak.
Right.
In the heat of an argument, and you will have them as an 8, make time to ask yourself, could it possibly be that I'm wrong? And then resume arguing because we know you will.
So true. Here's one. Don't perceive yourself or others as being weak for sharing from the heart. It's actually a really important part of having a healthy relationship with others that you work with, and especially people that you care about.
Just a couple tips for those of you who are parenting an 8, or you are employing an 8, or you're working alongside of them. Just be cognizant of their personality and recognize, especially, but they're called the challenger for a reason. They enjoy challenging you. And so for us, it became learning that that is a natural response. When I ask you to do something, you're going to challenge me just to be challenging me. Our son used to literally, I would say we're going to do this, and he would always say things like, "Oh, I'm absolutely not doing that." I mean, even like vacation. "Hey, we're going to go to the beach." "Oh, I'm not." And I mean, when he was like 14, 15, I'm like, "What?" But then I just begin to understand he just pops off with that. And so I would just let it roll.
They're very, very independent.
I would literally just say, "Okay, whatever," walk away. And you would even get frustrated at times and say, like, "He's going, he's doing whatever."
Steam coming out of my ears.
I would say, "He's absolutely going. He's just saying that." And he always did. If you're watching this, AJ, I'm telling all your secrets. But the fact is, having employed them, like working alongside them, I love 8s, honestly. I hear people say, like, I've literally heard people say, like, "I can't stand 8s." And that breaks my heart because at the end of the day, a healthy 8 is can be the most amazing leader. And God has gifted them with this strong personality, this strong leadership for a reason. And so if you are an 8,
own it.
Get healthy.
Embrace it.
Work hard to work on yourself and become the most healthy version of that personality God gifted you with because God has something awesome for your life.
You can be an unstoppable force. 8s are great. Healthy 8s. All right. So listen, we are so glad that you joined us today. We hope that you enjoyed the content and that it brought value to your ministry. If it has, will you do us a favor? Please share this content wherever you consume it. Help us to get the word out so that we can build up and equip as many laborers for the harvest as we possibly can in these last days. We just want to say God bless you and yours. We'll see you next time.